War Eagle War Rapport family, I'm your host, C Dub, and Auburn escapes a very close game with Georgia State. And we're going to be here to discuss the player of the game, the ACE, University ACE hardware tools of the game, grades, as well as what else we saw around college football and in the SEC. So you definitely don't want to miss that. But for now, sit back, get your weight up, because your weekend tailgate starts right now.
You are now listening to a War Rapport Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by University ACE Hardware. It's your boy, I Jones. Be Will. C-Dog. Mike G. Get ready. Sit on back as we bring you the War Rapport Weekend Tailgate.
Hey, War Eagle, everyone. Happy Sunday. Thanks for tuning in to the latest weekend tailgate brought to you by our good friends at University ACE Hardware. Always remember, for your hardware needs, ACE is the place for you. And if you ever find yourself in the Auburn area, please be sure to stop by 2101 East University Drive. Drop in and let them know that your friends at the War Rapport sent you. Also, I want to thank you guys, the War Rapport family, for hanging out with us on a Sunday, spending some of your day with us. It's always good to come in and talk football, help us grow this community, and you can do that by sharing our live videos. As they're live, help people find us so that they can get some great content like you're enjoying. And guys, if you've been watching us for some time and you want to get in on some of these perks we're offering during the season throughout the week for insiders, Mike G can tell you how to do that. Mike G.
Hey, become an insider. You definitely want to be an insider because as an insider, you get access to film review. I just got done chopping the film this morning after a very emotionally roller coastery kind of night we had last night. And you don't want to miss this film review. There are going to be fireworks. Ike's going to get into it. I was going to say rip into it, but yeah, he's going to rip into it. Ike's going to rip into it. And we're going to see what happens. And it's going to give us a good idea of what we can look forward to. Listen, this is insider only. We do a lot of things for free. This is not one of them. Sign up so you can get access to that. As an insider, you're getting entries into a raffle for tickets to the Georgia game. We're giving away 2 tickets to the Georgia game. This is something new that we've started this year. So as an insider, this is a perk. Supporters get this perk too, but you get entry raffles into this giveaway. And ask Felix. Felix went to the Georgia State game. Felix Gonzalez, congratulations to him. Jeb Shaner, our guy Solomon Leverett. Those have been our ticket winners so far. The great seats. We want to send you to the game on us. So please sign up. We're doing a tailgate for Georgia weekend. This is October the 9th. We want you guys to come hang out with us. More information to come on this about location, but the whole crew will be on site for that. We're giving away a mug today. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. You guys know the deal here, man. Check your spelling and make sure that you can get into this. At the 1 hour mark, we're going to draw and give away a mug to somebody. So definitely want you guys to get in on that. Last but certainly not least, we are partnered with the Lee County Humane Society to help save puppies. We got a little while ago. We got about $250 we got to make before the end of the month to meet our goal of $500 raised to save puppies. Guys, we appreciate everything that everyone does in terms of donations. No donation is too small. But we got 6 days here to meet that goal. We appreciate everybody who's going to go over there and donate in advance. Thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday. Shout out to our sponsor, our tailgate sponsor, again, Ace Hardware, University Ace Hardware. Yeah, love those guys over there. I needed to go in there for some tools to fix myself emotionally after yesterday. They didn't have anything for that. They directed me to my local psychiatrist, but I'll be back there for other things.
Indeed. One thing that can help you will be the actual player of the game, which the fans voted. And that person just so happens to be TJ Finley. Of course, he came in late in the game, went 9 for 16, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. Of course, he led a very incredible, impressive drive, in which started at our own 1-2 yard line, I want to say. And gave us the lead. So congrats to him. An amazing game on his part. Of course, we'll talk about him in more detail starting right now. I'm impressed with how he played. His number was called. He showed up, so I'm happy to see that. B, you were there in person. You was in the press box watching, man. Just give an account. You didn't get a chance to actually give all of your thoughts post game. So talk about what you saw to TJ Finley coming in and the impact he had on not only the team but the fans and the crowd as well.
Yeah, the fans were pretty much ready for a change. Coach Harsin even alluded to it in the press conference. He said, I saw what y'all saw. We weren't getting anything done. He said, we had played every wide receiver. We had played every running back. He said, you can't swap out the offensive line. There's only one thing left to change. And for one, before we get into the specifics of the game, it is very refreshing to hear somebody go, okay, we tried that. We tried that. There's only one other thing left to try. Unless you want to put all the second string offensive linemen in. And I don't think that's the answer to anything. So that was refreshing for it to make sense and him go through his thoughts about what we were doing or not doing and what we were ready to try. And I was glad to hear that. But the crowd was ready for TJ. And again, I said this once yesterday. It was Ike having been in the press box, C having been in the press box. It is a very buttoned up and quiet atmosphere. There are people who know each other. They've been covering Auburn for years. So what they're doing is they're going, type, watch a play, type. And every now and then they'll go, if it's just it doesn't matter who it was. If it was a missed opportunity for Auburn or for the other team, they'll go, because that could have been a good catch or that could have been a pick or whatever it was. But the groans at the decisions that Bo was making early on, from what I can see had described, I can't tell you I've been on press row for 10 years and I've never heard anybody groan like that because I haven't been in there but one time. But it was very peculiar to hear, like it loud enough to where like maybe one or two people do it early. But by the second quarter, it was like, at the plays that were being made or the misreads or the bad throws. And everybody was ready for a change. At first, the crowd was patient, and then the crowd got more restless. And I was very surprised to see Bo come out second half. I was like, okay, this is it, right? There was a gentleman next to me who I didn't know, my first time there. He said, he's got to go to TJ now, right? I said, I don't know if there is a more justifiable time to go to TJ from what we just saw in the first half. Like now's the time. So when Bo came out the second half, I was like, ugh, this might not be this. Maybe he wasn't ready, but he did make the change. As a matter of fact, Mike had tweeted out, he was like, guys, I don't know if this is going to work because obviously he's not going to make a change. I thought he wasn't going to make the change when TJ didn't come out second half. Mike thought he wasn't going to make the change. And then he made the change. And if nothing else, the energy from the crowd, from the sideline, all changed up. And TJ missed some throws. Don't get me wrong. We saw the throws he missed. He overthrew at least 3 people with his time, the drives he had second half. But you didn't feel like he missed the person he was supposed to go to. You felt like that was too much on the throw. It wasn't, he definitely nothing sailed on him the way things were sailing on Bo. Bo had a couple of those first half where, all right, maybe I get who you were throwing to, but is it your hand or your shoulder, your elbow? But it never got that restless with TJ. And maybe because everybody felt like, all right, it's got to be you. So we're going to give you a little rope here. We're going to give you the opportunity to mess up a little bit. But that drive, man, I don't know if you can set up a better story. Everybody in the booth was like, it just got interesting. Not only when he made the change, but when they got the touchdown, that was it. That was the beginning of the upheaval of the football team for the rest of the season. Everybody knew it. Everybody watching at home, I know y'all knew it. We're in the chat like, oh, buddy, here it goes. And I'm glad to be there for that. I'm glad I chose that game. I'm glad I chose that game. That was an amazing experience. It was a really good experience, though.
Shout out Isaac Ritchie. He asked, did you guys see TJ Finley's confidence after the TD throw? He really looks like he's ready to take over War Eagle. I want to pass this one to Mike G. Mike G, talk about Finley and what that moment did for him in terms of his journey to Auburn, what he intended to attempt to achieve, and just what happened in that game.
Yeah, listen, I've had a chance to emotionally react. I woke up this morning immediately and just started chopping up the film play by play. So we'll talk about a lot of that in film review. But to Brian's point, there were some overthrows. After film review, you might feel differently about some of what were overthrows. There were definitely some things on tape that stand out there. But I'll tell you this, what he did, what he was asked to do is something that is very difficult for a lot of quarterbacks. More quarterbacks fail put in that position than actually come in and succeed. He did a really difficult thing yesterday. He came in and he saved the day cold off the bench at the last drive in the third quarter. They gave him a quarter and 3 minutes to ignite an offense that had done nothing all day. Hats off to Georgia State. They got the formula on how to stop Auburn, right? Stop our run game and force the quarterback to make throws. What we saw in the first 3 games were none of those teams were able to do that. Not even Penn State. Penn State did not shut down our run game. Tank and Jarquez had great nights. We just didn't give them the ball enough. So again, during this one, for some reason, Georgia State was able to do it. Now, mind you, minus our 2 best players on defense for a whole half, just one of those guys, and they did absolutely nothing offensively after the half. They had like 80-something total yards after the half. But TJ, I just thought, you prepare for moments like this in practice. Good quarterbacks can do this. And it wasn't pretty, but I didn't expect it to be with the mishmash of wide receivers and Harsin said it, man. They subbed out everything but the O-line. He says the only thing I can't change is the O-line. So I got to change the quarterback because I have tried everything else to give us a spark. So the difference, statistically, when you look at what Finley did, it wasn't that impressive from a statistical standpoint. As a matter of fact, it was just a little bit better than what Bo did. The difference between the 2 quarterbacks were the ones he missed and the ones he made. Right? The ones he made were critically important. So whenever a play had to be made, Finley made it. The ones that he missed,
good point.
It was like, okay, it wasn't the third or fourth down throw that he missed. He made those throws.
That's a very good point.
It was the first down and second down where he kind of like, okay, that wasn't it. And then he would come back and make a play again. And I was just like, wow, again, I'm stressing to everybody. I'm kind of coming over to Isaac's side. I wasn't there yesterday, but after watching the film and then looking at the advanced statistics, there's nothing really that suggests that from a statistical standpoint that TJ is going to be much better than Bo based on the small sample size that we've seen. The difference between the 2 quarterbacks will be when they miss.
Right.
When you need a big play, how confident are you that Bo's going to go in there and make it at that time? And I thought TJ showed us last night that when called upon to make a big play, he can. And when he has to recover from a bad play, he can as well. Right? So there were 3 noticeable overthrows. One, Javarius Johnson got held, man. I mean, the DB.
That was awful.
Yeah, the DB affected the play. I thought Finley put the ball right where it should have been.
It was a perfect throw. JJ definitely got held.
They got held. Yeah. How they missed that? You're
talking about the tunnel screen, right?
No. I'm talking.
Are you talking about the deep ball?
The deep ball.
Okay. Yeah. No, he got held on that one too. But I was talking about the tunnel screen.
Right.
He got held there too.
Yeah. Right. On the deep ball up the sideline to Shed Jackson. I just kept thinking if that was another receiver, they probably had a chance. But we threw it to our slowest guy.
Still don't understand
on that route. Yeah, like that was the wrong guy to throw that ball to, but it was the right read. But had that been Malcolm Johnson out there, he probably runs that ball down.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much he's worked with Shed Jackson. So, like, I felt differently about some of his overthrows after watching the film, too. He's got work to do. He's definitely got work to do. But the formula for Auburn is out for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. Load the box, stop tanking Jarquez, and then make whoever's at quarterback beat you. But I was impressed with Finley, man. That offensive line, again, I can't stress enough. You guys have to see this film review. It will change your mind completely about why our last quarterback's problem was vision. Not routes, it was vision, seeing the field. Finley did something different. He didn't just sit in the pocket. He manipulated the pocket so that he could see the field. From where Bo has been sitting in the pocket, even though he's getting a ton of credit for just staying there, he's not manipulating the pocket, so he still can't see the field. And then he's locked on his first read. It's obvious. He never comes off his first read. So many plays. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now,
and Mike, you can hold that thought. And because of where he's in the pocket, the defender still can get to him, which creates the illusion that he's under pressure. And until he steps all the way into the, again, I'm sitting over Mike's shoulder watching how Finley maneuvers the pocket versus what Bo does. Finley steps all the way in. He climbs the pocket. Mm-hmm. And so those defenders on the edge don't have as much of a chance typically as they would with Bo, who's just in the pocket dropped back. So that's another thing to note as well. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, on the bomb to Javarius Johnson, I just watched Finley again, 4 steps up in the pocket to take the edge rushers out of the play completely. The O-line did their job blocking them to the outside, and it looked like a different offensive line with a different quarterback in there. They blocked the same way they did the whole game.
The whole game. That's the thing I need people to keep in mind. This man was still running for his life, but completing passes.
Yeah, like, I mean, it was pretty amazing to watch. I think I'm impressed with Finley. Again, he's still got some accuracy things that he needs to clean up. Now, and he gets a 1-game reprieve because of when he was inserted into this game. I think if he gets a chance to start against LSU, we may see a different Finley. He might be a little bit more like he can start calm. I mean, it's a hell of a game for him to jump in, right, against his old team on the road and one of the hardest places to play in the whole country. But I was impressed with Finley. I thought that, put in a tough situation, he did what good players do. He came in and he saved the day off the bench. And to B's point, the energy, you could notice the energy of the crowd. Everybody, a lot of people were at the game were texting me saying, like, yo, when Finley came in, the stadium went live.
Yeah.
Right.
So this super chat basically is saying one thing, crowd get hyped, but it's different when the players are on the sideline are. Question is, do we think that they're fed up with what was happening?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the body language of a lot of the players, particularly receivers. And the last thing I'll say about Finley made a throw, rolling out to the right hash to Canyon.
Yeah.
Right. It was a great play by the quarterback, and it was an NFL catch by Canyon.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man.
That's the guy I've been waiting to see, man.
Tiptoed the sideline, hands catch, right? It would have been a catch. He got both toes down. It would have been a catch in the NFL. And I'm like, this guy's been on the bench.
The best body control of everybody on our team.
Why has he
has not been on the field?
Yeah, I don't understand.
He is a subpar blocker. Like I will admit that wholeheartedly. He's not a very physical run blocking guy. So, maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. Outside of that, I don't know what they were hoping to see from him that they hadn't seen in practice. But it's clear from just the ability to go up and get a ball. If you're having quarterbacks with accuracy issues, you need a wide receiver that can bail you out. Yeah, Canyon's 100%. The kind of guy that can bail you out.
Yeah, 100%. And then Malcolm Johnson had a comeback catch. It was Bo that threw it. That I thought was just a good play, good awareness. He came back to bail his quarterback out. Mm-hmm. Bo threw a ball. He went to the ground to catch it. I'm telling you, a lot of you have come around to this idea that it seemed like we had been prioritizing experience over talent. And I think that Harsin is starting to see that that's not working. So he's got to get the talent on the field. right? Get the talent on the field and then make them the more experienced guys. Everybody's inexperienced until you're not, right? So it's got to start somewhere. And this idea that we can ease people in is going to tank our season before we get started. So hats off to Finley, man. Congratulations, young man. Like, he did something that I can't stress enough. I just think it was a very difficult situation that he was put in. It would have been very easy for him to go out there and fail. Nobody would have really blamed him. But then it would have been more of, see, this is why Bo's the best we have. Right? It would have been less incentive to change. And I'll end by saying, my biggest gripe with Auburn is, why are we seemingly one of the only, top tier programs that doesn't make changes until things are an absolute disaster? Why do we need that? Why can't we just look at a guy and say, you know what, you did okay, but that's not good enough. We're going to go to somebody else.
Well, okay. Before you go, Ike, because I know you got some things to say about Finley. I think we all know we were in a situation with our coach and coaching staff where their hands were tied to a certain extent. Now, we have not gotten like formal confirmation from Gus after he left, but we have enough of a feel about what was going on to know whether it was him being stubborn about changing positions, because he also played other people who we thought may not be the best people on the field. Right. Running back as well, injuries got Tank on the field, and we were all bemoaning that at the beginning of last year. So whether it was his personal thing or it was over his head, we knew it was at least part of that problem. I don't think other people do that, because as far as this season goes, we won 2 games handily, and then we were in position to win the 3rd game. It's not like we played worse yesterday than we played at Penn State. Exactly. So I don't think the situation was quite right yet to make a change, because based on what we had seen, Bo played great. Bo played pretty good 2nd game. Bo played better than we'd ever seen him play on the road 3rd game. The circumstances weren't right yet. Yesterday they were, and for the first time that the circumstances called for it, a change was made. I don't think it's an Auburn problem. I think it was a coaching problem. And now that our current coach, has been given all the reasons to make the change, he made it. So I think we're moving forward.
Shane, we appreciate you, man, for the super chat. Appreciate that. If you don't really have anything, I'm gonna go with you first as we get into tools to the game. Want to do that?
Yeah, I said all I had to say about this last night. I don't have very much different until I get a chance to watch some film. So let's move on.
Fair enough. Let's talk about these tools of the game.
The University Ace Hardware. Tools to the game.
All right, I'll get started first. My tool to the game has to be Zakoby McClain. I think we got the player of the game, TJ Finley. TJ Finley won the game, but Zakoby McClain saved it for us.
For sure.
We all knew how talented this kid is. Mike G and I, we've done a For the Record. We've talked extensively about how this guy has a nose for the football, how this guy was the leading tackler in the nation last year, and he just knows how to make a play. I think there are a few people who really understood how critical he is to Auburn's run defense. We look like a completely different team in the second half. And if we didn't stop the bleeding defensively and the hemorrhaging and Georgia State from just gashing us, TJ Finley doesn't get a chance to even get in there and try to win the game. So my tool to the game has to go out to him. He definitely deserves a game ball because he's very critical. And I remember last year, I know we talk about the depth or lack thereof behind him, but you have to remember last year in 2020 when KJ Brent went down and McClain and Papo had to fill in, it was a little rough at times for them as well. They had to kind of learn their run fits and learn how to play that position. And that's going to be the same with Steiner and whoever else is backing those guys up. So it's going to be some growing pains for whoever is new in at that position, but we got talent. They just have to figure out, just like Zakoby did. I'm not as panicky about that position moving forward, but we do understand who is the MVP of that defense and who makes it go. It's definitely Zakoby McClain. I'll toss it to Ike. I'll let you go since you haven't said a whole lot. What was your University Ace Hardware tool to the game?
University Ace Hardware tool to the game from me is I'm gonna have to go with a pipe wrench because we gotta tighten up this defense, man. Good God, this defense has got to tighten up, man. And specifically on the back end and communication. Look, Zakoby McClain helped to cure some of the ills that we had in the run game. But the back end was just not at all communicating. If we're not stopping the run, then we are completely susceptible to the pass. That looks awful against teams that don't need a run game to be able to produce offense. I'm looking at Ole Miss and I'm looking at Mississippi State. We are going to have trouble against those teams if they don't figure out how to tighten up their communication on the back end and get into a place where they're not allowing guys to run completely. The first touchdown that Georgia State had, I don't know that if you zoomed out on that picture, you would still have an Auburn player in it. It was just awful how wide open this man was. So we have to tighten it up on the back end. That communication has to get better. If you go back, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow when we watch the film, if we look in the second half at what they were doing from a communication standpoint in the back end in the second half of that game, you will see what I'm talking about. They were audibly pointing out guys. They were trying to figure out who do you have? Who are we supposed to have? And that also indicated they were doing a lot more man. They weren't just talking about what zone I'm covering. They were literally pointing out guys like they were playing pickup basketball out here. It's like, I got him, you got him, this, and you can see them talking on the field. Now, I've seen them doing hand gestures and calling different plays. No, I'm talking about like confirmation. This is where we're going. I need to see more of that stuff. I'm looking at Smoke Monday to figure out how to get our people in the right. Our safeties have to be the generals of that backfield. That defensive backfield, and I need to see them out there making a difference. So pipe wrench is what I'm going with.
Mike G, what's yours?
I don't know if I'm picking a tool, but like my University Ace Hardware.
Every time I'm going with a tool.
Tool to the game is Brian Big Balls Harsin. Coaching. I'm going with coaching. This man did something we have not seen in 10 years, and he pulled a quarterback and it worked. And I mean, listen, it takes guts to do it. It definitely takes guts to do it. A lot of coaches would have gone down with the ship. And he saved us from a very embarrassing loss. No doubt about it. I really think that he deserves credit for having the guts to make the call at quarterback. And not only that, but as many changes as they made during that game to try to get something going, right? They literally in one game switched out almost every position. And not only that, after the Tank fumble, Tank did not go back in the game.
Yeah.
They didn't put him back in. And they were willing. I mean, when I was looking at that lineup, I was like backup quarterback, second string running back, second and third string receivers. That final drive looked drastically different from a lot of the players that people went out there thinking might be out there.
Literally, Shanker was the only person who didn't get subbed out.
Yeah, I mean, it was, having the wherewithal and the guts to just do what he needed to do to get us a win. I thought that was an impressive decision-making job at the end of the game. He just wasn't willing to accept a loss. So he pulled out all the stops and it worked. So Coach Harsin, congratulations. Those were some big boy moves there at the end.
Appreciate you, John Pack, for the super chat. Appreciate that, brother.
Appreciate it.
Will talk to me, man. What's yours?
Along those same lines of what Mike said, it's not a particular tool, but seeing those wide receivers out there. I mean, we said, okay, everything wasn't working. They changed out the wide receivers first. Bo was out there with some different personnel than he had been the last couple of games. But that last drive with Finley, Capers caught the ball. Kenyon caught the ball. Of course, Shed caught the ball. Shanker caught the ball. That was so crucial to actually getting down the field on that drive. The catch to Kenyon, man, it was on third. It was a 3rd and 11. Was that the catch to Kenyon? I don't know if that was a play. I know we got down to 3rd and 11. And I kept thinking, man, all right, he missed that. He missed that.
Some of the one on the sideline?
Yeah. I don't know if that was a 3rd and 11, but I know we were on 3rd and 11 and he completed the pass. That was Zakoby. The 3rd and 11 was Zakoby Hudson. Seeing different guys getting the opportunity, seeing the coach kind of go, okay, this isn't working. It's time to do something else. We had been begging, and what's got us so frustrated about the last 5 years at the very least was we think we've got talent on the bench. Do we know? We don't know. We are assuming that the coaches are making the best decision, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the guys that you have on the bench play badly enough to get benched. So how do we know? Now, it's not our job. The coaches are getting paid a lot of money to make the best decisions and put us in the best position to win. But we didn't know it. Yesterday, for the first time in so long, man, hey, you know what? You get out there, see what you can do. And when the guys got out there, they made plays. That's what's so beautiful about the entire game yesterday. The guys who we had been begging to see, wondering if they were contributing, if they were able to contribute in this offense, when they got on the field, to Mike G's point about the wide receivers we had in 2010 or 2013, yes, we know we didn't have super 5-star, whatever wide receivers. But when those guys got out there with whatever their limitations were, they produced with those opportunities. And I am beyond thankful that we've turned that corner, man. So whatever tool that is it a decision-making tool? Is it a rubric, an office corporate tool? I don't know. We needed that, the ability to go, nope, it's not working. You go. And when you finally get in there, you get your opportunity. You make the most of it. That was my Ace Hardware, University Ace Hardware tool to the game. Let me get y'all name right.
Hey, B, it was a 2nd and 10, the Canyon catch on the sideline.
Okay.
Second and 10. Yeah, cool.
Well, guys, listen, you're watching live. We want to hear from you. We already see some of you guys commenting already. But if you're watching this on replay, let us know what your University Ace Hardware tool to the game was. What was a change? What was something that you felt was very critical to Auburn pulling out that very close win on yesterday? Definitely want to hear from you guys. This is a reminder that you are watching the War Report's weekend tailgate. We pause now to acknowledge the sponsors of the War Report.
The War Report's weekend tailgate show is brought to you by our generous sponsors. University Ace Hardware, located at 2101 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama, right across the street from the Auburn Mall and next to the movie theater. For all of your hardware needs, Ace is the place. Our betting partner, BUSR. Bet with confidence at busr.com/report. auburnsports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to auburnsports.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, check out our friends at GWT2energy.com.
Hey, listen, I mentioned it at the top of the broadcast. You definitely want to become an insider. We are doing a lot of things this season. Our game day experience has been so much fun with you guys during the game, halftime, pregame. It's been an amazing thing. Join this community so you can get access to that. We are giving away a mug. So I mentioned this at the top of the broadcast, hashtag get your weight up. You guys know the drill. Ike is keeping track here, and we'll pull at the 1 hour mark to see who wins that, so we can send that out. Not last. Our merch store is live. If you don't win a mug, you can go buy one and support us in this way if you want a little more in return here for helping us out. So visit our merch store. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. Now, last but not least, we're live on podcasts as well, too. So if you love our Wednesday War Room, you can go find this on podcast. We're working hard to try to bring you guys more of these segments in podcast form. But for now, we're just doing the Wednesday Night War Room. B is working hard to get that out for you guys. So even if you're not a podcast person, head over to your Apple, iTunes, Spotify, whatever you listen to podcasts on. Drop us a star rating and a review. Help us climb the podcast charts.
All right. Well, listen, you know what time it is. So we're at that point in the show. Let's talk about it, man. Talk about some of these grades with the War Report card. All right. All right, guys. What should we start with? What you want to start with, Ike?
Yeah, let's start with coaching. We can keep let's go.
Okay,
Let's
then.
get
All
straight into
right.
it.
All
Let's
right,
get straight into it.
All right, then. All right. Well, here's a little graphic we got. I mean, pretty similar in first downs. I think this was perhaps one of the more frustrating aspects of the games was just the penalties and the mental mistakes that was made in the game. Very even in terms of time of possession. We edged them there. Third downs left a lot to be desired from us. Fourth down, we were 1 for 1, and both teams were perfect in terms of getting into the red zone. What are our thoughts here? In terms of coaching, I think for me, I want to give them not a good grade. It's going to be a D+ for me overall.
Rough.
It's rough. It's still rough because I mean we won. They saved. We averted disaster. Disaster's an F, right? So if you make some decisions to cause us to avoid a disaster, D+. But we were getting. I think Georgia State had an incredible, impressive plan for Auburn, and we just got hit in the mouth. And I think much of the rest of the game in the second half was us coaching our way, playing our way out of the hole that was dug for us. And so for me, I'm gonna give it a D+. Pretty harsh. I was deciding between a C- or D+, but I'm gonna stick with a firm D+. Ike, what you got?
All right, I'm gonna just hit this super chat real quick. Appreciate you, Jazzy Joe. It's all good, man. Dog ate the phone, had to follow me around. Okay, I don't really want to know the details of how you got your phone back, but appreciate you hopping in. I am going to. So let me just give an analogy real quick. Those of you who are college students, yesterday I think mirrored the life of a college freshman. You came in thinking you were just going to be some super out there to killing the world. And you were very unprepared for what you got when you got out there in college, right? And so you looked unprepared, you partied a little bit too hard, all that kind of stuff. But after you made a couple of bad grades, you made some adjustments. Maybe you got you a really good friend that would help you in tutoring and all that. That's you, Zakoby, coming back into the game. And then right before finals, you actually turned in a few papers and you got it right. And you got your grade from out of the F that it was into a C. And I'm going to give you a C because I think you did enough to be where we needed to be by the end of the game. Halftime adjustments looked good. You got your study partner in Zakoby McClain. You made your changes that you need to do by getting the different players in the game. As from a coaching standpoint, I'm going to give it a C overall. Should have been a much better game. I probably should dip into a C-, but I'm a solid C for the coaching based upon the changes they made and just the adjustments in the middle of the game that I saw happening, not just at halftime, but literally post halftime when we had the halftime adjustments. We were like, okay, that wasn't enough. We need to change more. We had the strength to go ahead and make that change. C for me.
Be Will.
You know what? Y'all are kind of harsh on the coaches, man. I say B-. I say B- because something happened yesterday that has not happened, that we've been screaming to make happen for a very long time. It comes down to a coach's decision. To who gets on the field is up to the coaches. We were in a very deep hole yesterday. And if you want to put it on the coaches as to why we were in the hole, that's fair. That's fair. I would actually go back to the decision to make Bo the kind of pre-anointed starter. I've had my doubts about Bo since last year. I think we all had doubts about Bo last year. But somebody said, all right, we've got you. You've got experience. Sure, we're going to ride with you, and we're going to put all this time into you, and you're going to get the spring reps, and you're going to get the fall camp first team reps. And the investment in Bo as the starter without giving the other guy what I would say is a fair shot, that's the decision that's questionable, but that was not what happened yesterday. That had already happened. All right. They put that investment in Bo, and it came to a head yesterday. They said, that's it. We got to make a change. I saw 2019 at Florida, and our defense did more for us than they have done in probably any game I've seen Auburn play. 2019 at LSU was also ugly. And we had let that defense down, and the offense had let the team down for so long, man. I was just waiting. It was really hard to watch. It's really hard to watch these games. Y'all know, y'all are fans. Y'all watching the games too. But this coaching staff said, no, we're not going down like this. And after the game, hearing Coach Harsin go, yeah, we weren't doing anything. Maybe him being frank about it and being a little transparent about it, that's what gives me confidence. Like, no, that wasn't working. We changed that because that didn't work. Our team had fight. So the failure was not in motivation. The team kept fighting. I think the failure was way before this game. And maybe depth at linebacker, but I don't know how much I can put on the coaches at that, because Steiner was shaky cleaning up for McClain. And I don't know if I can put that on the coaches, because I think Zakoby's in the game and our run defense looks way different. I don't know if that's a coaching thing, though. I can't coach Steiner to be McClain, so that's not a coach thing. I'll say B- because they made the change. The different guys got on the field. Quarterback got on the field. The plays were made. They benched the guy who made the fumble, and he's the best player on the team. When have we seen this? B-, man. You can say I'm grading the result, which I am, but that it took a lot. So B- for me.
Fair enough. Mike G, what you got?
I'm with B on this one. I'm actually going to go B- as well. I cannot ignore that we looked kind of unprepared for this one mentally coming in. That pulled me down to where C's at with a D. All right. What really pulled me out of that D, though, were some of the things that B said, things that we have never seen in terms of making changes, wholesale changes at that. I can't really put on the coaches the injuries that we had that made us look like we did defensively in the first half. I mean, we didn't really change a lot second half in terms of scheme. It was just put Zakoby in there and it works. From a run defense standpoint, right? Like the run D, like Steiner was just out of position. When you look at it just looked like he looked lost out there. Zakoby got in there and it changed the whole. This is why I had initially said I thought no points for Georgia State. I was like, if they can't throw the ball. We saw that in the second half. Without a run game, they can't throw the ball, and that was our strength. And then we go out in the second half, and it went just like I thought it would go the first half, which was no points. But I underestimated, and admittedly, I was thinking that Papo at least was going to play in this game. They were kind of quiet about that. So then after he was out, if I had known the two of them were out, I would have changed my deal completely. They're clearly the heart and soul of this defense. But just one of those guys coming back changed the complexion. I can't really put that on the coaches, right? And then ultimately, the evaluation, in-game adjustments can be difficult. They made them. And they benched the starting quarterback, and I think that you deserve credit for that as well, too. But I think you have to own the game plan, though, which is why the score is not better. Right. Because if we, it's hard because I think that we needed changes, but I think we needed things to happen the way they did for us to get to the changes. So I'm kind of like, I hate that it takes that much, but I'm glad it wasn't a disaster and they were able to save it from that. I think the coaches do have to own why we looked the way we did. If you got to know your personnel, man. So Steiner in it, right? Like, you need to come up with a game plan that doesn't let Georgia State run all over you. Give them some help, right? Like, but they figured it out. So, again, I not dying on that hill where there's not a stubbornness. There wasn't a stubbornness near the end, and our head coach took over seemingly and said, "Listen, man." I tried everything. The only thing I couldn't do was change out the offensive line. He said that in the presser. And I thought, okay, well, you know what? B-, it wasn't pretty. It was Georgia State. But this is a first-year head coach. He's trying to figure out what he has. He has his own method for going about that. I thought they could have arrived at some things faster, but you know, at the end of the day, as long as they get there, I'm good. So I'm going to give them a B- on this one. I almost pulled it down to a C+ because of some of the special teams penalties. Like what are we coaching on special teams? Like, why did we have so many holds and things that just gave Georgia State great field position on kickoffs and punts? Yeah, I just think they got the right players on the field before it was too late. so B-.
Fair points. Let's get into a few super chats before we get to talking about special teams. Mojo says Knicks has started 29 games and has regressed back to 2020 levels. It's time for the Knicks era to end. Honestly, I was pulling for him to have a good year. I think we all were pulling for him. We want to see him succeed. Whoever is in that position, we want to see them succeed.
Yeah. So, wait. Let me comment on this real quick before we move on, because this is something I know I'm going to be arguing with people at least for the next week about until we find out who starts. Yes, I mean that sentiment is absolutely right. At this point, you know what you have in Bo. And if they decide to play him, then I will be much harder on coaching, because you have to come up with a game plan that actually utilizes his strengths. Part of the stubbornness of this is that they have tried to make Bo something that he's clearly not going to be at this point. And I listened to another content creator last night say that, one bad game does not make this a bad season for Bo. And I was like, one bad game? What were you watching during Penn State and the game before that? Right? One good game, which was Akron. By every advanced metric, he regressed every single game. He regressed against Alabama State. He regressed against Penn State, and he super regressed against Georgia State. He took exactly no steps forward after Akron. So you know what you have in him. You leave him in, and it's more likely the trend, the pattern for 2.5 years is that this guy is more likely to regress more. Stop the bleeding for his sake. Bench him. Right? And let him see this. I think this is a necessary step for Bo in his maturation process if he plans to play beyond football. I watched Oklahoma bench Spencer Rattler last year. Why should Bo be above benching?
And last night.
Right. I watch guys get benched all the time. It doesn't mean you're giving up on him necessarily, but this is part of the process, right? Like, you're not getting it done. I don't think he's ever been benched his whole life. And you got to go out there and do something different. He made strides. He definitely made strides. He just did not come as far as we would have hoped he would have come in this one-off season, which is what I was preaching to everybody. The hill that Bo has to climb is really, really high. And there's a small percentage of people who make the Joe Burrow type jump from year to year. But if you really pay attention to Joe Burrow, the leap wasn't as big as people thought it was.
No, Joe Burrow was actually good.
He was good.
Bear it out, but Joe Burrow wasn't actually a good quarterback before he became Heisman Joe.
Yeah,
their offense was bad, but he was good.
Yeah, so I just don't want to hear, and I will actively go at people. I give zero craps about this, right? If this whole thing, Mike hates Bo and you always hated Bo, that has nothing to do with what he did on the field. Zero. I have never hated him. I've only critiqued his play. And finally, the coaches came around to what we've been saying all offseason. Everybody was hopeful for Bo when he started the season. After Akron, I was elated for him and said, I hope that there were some things to critique still in that performance, but it was leaps and bounds better. Then as the competition started to increase, we started to see, wait, he maybe hasn't come as far as we thought he had. And no one man can be greater than the team. There's no reason to take the whole season down for Bo Nix's maturation process to catch up. None.
And then that's what this super chat speaks of. He also bench tanked for the second time. Look, I just read that's an Auburn coach making that call. Yes, absolutely. No, like to your point, no one person is above the team.
Remember the fumble issues that we talked about with Tank preseason?
I was waiting. I was actually going to shout him out because 4 weeks in, I was assuming that he wasn't going to fumble this game. And I was like, we still have not seen any of that fumbling problem because he didn't. Did he even fumble the ball? Even one that he kept up to this game, he had not. And then it showed it in a game where we actually needed that drive. That's why it was funny. It's like, hey, if it was Georgia State, we were up 4 touchdowns. It's not that big a deal. But man, this was costly.
Yeah. And it was a good run. He did everything right except secure the ball at the end of it.
Yeah, got to hold the bag.
Yeah. And to that point, though, before we move on, let it be known, 29 games to start. I actually started looking up how many attempts Bo has had in his career. People were so quick to say, well, look, Finley isn't better. He threw 16 passes the whole game, and after 7 passes, people were ready to say he's not good enough. Really? He got here in the fall, man. He didn't get a spring. This is a new system for him. They threw the playbook at him when he signed. They didn't go through reps with him. And he's been working with nothing but twos since he got here because Bo was getting the number 1 snaps. So he hadn't been working with every wide receiver. You got to give him, if you're willing to give Bo that much leash to see him tank games in 2019 for us and lose at South Carolina for us and ride with him the whole time, I am willing to let TJ be mediocre for a little while, invest the same time you have given Bo before you're ready to call it on TJ. Because you gave Bo all these chances. We lost plenty of games that we shouldn't have lost. Give TJ the same leash. That's all I'm saying.
I will keep the same energy for TJ on accuracy and
consistency.
He gets the same energy. Yeah, he keeps the same energy.
But here's the thing: we keep the same energy with everyone. I call it. People are selective as to what they want to focus on. Who we critique is what it is because we've given the O-line crap. Gosh, Nick Brahms had a crucial offseason from us because we watched film on him and talked about him extensively. We've talked about people. We talked about Seth Williams. We talked about people who were doing things we didn't approve of. So we will keep the same energy moving forward. If you're not getting it done, we're going to call it out. Simple as that. Now, brings us to special teams. Let's look at that. We had 3 punt returns for 45 yards. Kick return, definitely saw some things we like there. 5 returns, 165 yards. Pritchett did a very good job in returning kickoffs for us. We see the stats for punting. Of course, Carlson did about as much as you can ask him to do, man. 4 or 5. And Mike G mentioned we were watching the game. Law of averages, you asking your punter to kick that many times, sooner or later he's going to miss one. He went 4 for 5. We did have the punt block for a touchdown, which was major in the second half. There were a good bit of penalties in special teams that was just complete mental errors and just poor decisions in terms of the guys who were out there. And it's important in a game like this is when you're not playing well on both sides of the ball, special teams becomes vitally important. Everything you do there matters because nothing else is working for you. So I'm gonna give them, actually, because of the spot they were put in, I'm actually giving them, believe it or not, an A- here, just because of what all they did just to keep us in the game. If Carlson if he doesn't hit those 4 field goals, we don't get a punt block. The offense only scored 1 touchdown. So they accounted for what, 19 of over half of our points.
Yeah.
So no way I'd give them lower than an A- there. So I'm gonna give them an A-. I do want us to clean up some of those penalties and clean that up. But yeah, I'm giving them a solid A- here. Mike G, what you got?
I'm gonna give them a B. I can't, the penalties. I mean, we had 3 penalties. It was kind of sloppy. We gave Georgia State great field position on a couple drives. Carlson went 4 for 5 on field goals or something like that. So he was a bright spot as well. And then the punt block for the touchdown was again saved us. So I can't because of the penalties, I can't give them an A. I mean, maybe if Carlson had went 5 for 5, I'd give them an A and ignore the penalties. But like, because the one miss, I swore during the game, I was like, this is going to come back to bite us, right? Because we can't get in the end zone. Yeah, well, we couldn't get in the end zone. We could have been kicking a field goal on that last drive, rather than sweating it out. Yeah, and then he goes 6 for 6, and we win by a point, pretty much. But I'll give them a B+. I mean, listen, man, we got one of the best kickers in the country, it seems. So he needs to keep making kicks, and we had to lean on him this game.
Yeah,
right. If he goes, 2 for 5, we're having a very different discussion today. So
for sure.
Hats off to him. He had a great game.
What's your grade for special teams?
I'm gonna do a solid B. Between the penalties, the missed kick, and the muffed punt is where I'm going to be in that space. Now, we didn't lose the muffed punt, but that was almost complete disaster.
I forgot about that.
I actually forgot about that too. That almost would drop me to a B+ there. But
that was almost complete disaster at that. Like, if we had lost that punt, I might have gone Mike G mode. Like, I just might have just like broke something here at the house, just because I was like, can we do anything correct today? Like, is there any portion of this game where we're not going to screw something up? Like, what phase of the game are we going to be flawless? And the answer to that point had been nothing between the penalties and then the muffed punt. And then later on in the game, I was like, all right, well, at least Carlson, So yeah, it's a solid B for me because of the blocked punt for a touchdown. Like, you gotta give now. And then again, though Carlson did miss the one, absent of his scoring and the block for a touchdown, we don't have points in this game up until the TJ to Shedrick touchdown, right? So solid B for me as far as special teams are concerned.
B will.
I'm gonna go A-, man. I know that missed field goal looks bad because we actually needed it, but we actually needed it because the offense sucked so much of the game. And if we had been at least an efficient offense for an entire half, then him missing a field goal means, now we're only up 17 instead of being up 20. I think it looms large and it looks really bad because we needed it so much, but we needed it so much because the defense struggled for an entire half. The offense struggled for 2.5 quarters. And when you score a touchdown on special teams, when you give us the short fields that we got from the returns, from the kickoff returns on special teams, you can't score that much and put us in a good position that much, have the offense and defense fail you, and then it's your fault when you have one mistake. I mean, no kicker is going to be perfect. I think who was that scored 6 field goals against LSU that got Les Miles fired? Maybe those are the most dependable kick performance we've had in a long time. But I don't expect anybody to be absolutely perfect, and Carlson included. So I like A- for them. I know they had some penalties, but they didn't. If it hurt us, it's because everybody else was doing terrible jobs. So A- for them.
Do we want to go ahead and do the giveaway before we talk about offense and defense, guys?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's get it ready. Shout out to those of you who have decided to participate in this giveaway today. Shout out to our giveaway sponsor, our guy GWT2 Energy.
While you're pulling that up, I just want to put a point out here. Oh wow!
Come on, man! It's 339 of y'all in here.
I want to make a point about our O-line. Would it shock anybody to know that our O-line and pass blocking graded out?
We even talked about offense.
Pretty high.
Can we wait till we talk about the offense?
Oh yeah. My bad. No, wait, we're talking about. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yes, that's offense.
Yeah,
Coaching and special teams, man. We still got to do offense defense.
Okay, my bad.
I saw a comment in here. Nobody who blamed the special teams for our. Maybe it's somebody in the chat did this after we scored our first 12 points. It's true. I don't know who blamed the special teams for the offense. So maybe I missed that. Actually, punting was really good yesterday as well. Like the punting situation was really good as far as punt coverage and the way that Chapman was booming it down there. Good job for him on the punting too. I didn't talk about that. We're up to 88, 91. Can we get 9 more people before I push this button, please?
Yeah, at least 100.
Are we just not giving away good enough stuff? Y'all want some better stuff? No, y'all don't give us enough money for us to give away better stuff. Y'all got nah, man. We 94. Come on, 6 more people. Get your weight up real quick in the comments. Throw it in there. I definitely feel good, Big Blue, for Kalen Newton. He needed some retribution for some stuff earlier in the season. Good for him for getting that block punt. Good to see him out there doing big things for us in the game. 2 more people. Come on, and I'll push the button. 2 more entries. Some of y'all are sitting here watching us talk about it instead of just putting get your weight up in the chat. I know it because it's way too many of y'all watching right now.
Get your fat up.
Move back over to the phone wherever you are across the room watching the thing and put it in the chat. Come on. 1 more person. I feel like, all right, there we go. Will there be 1? I feel like I'm at a Baptist church. All right, let's go. See who we got here. Getting a free mug on the War Rapport / getting it from GWT2 Energy. SS Austin, are you here? We need to see you here in the chat in order for you to be able to get this. If so, you know what the deal is, but we'll move on. We'll wait and see if SS Austin puts his name in the chat. If not, we'll move on to other things.
And as usual, here y'all go. Talking about he gone. We'll wait it out. Yeah, guys, y'all be looking not here. Y'all look around and make sure if I miss him that y'all catch him. So
for sure.
We're gonna move on for the sake of time. Continue to talk about grades. Let's talk since Mike G already brought up the offense. Let's talk about the offense, shall we? Here's the stats for the offense: 22 of 43 for 253 yards and a score. Rushing, we rushed 35 times, perhaps our most disappointing game in terms of what we're able to do on the ground. Rushed for 166 yards, 2 scores, had the 1 fumble by Tank, of course. My grade for the offense, I'm lean. I'm in that C- area, C- D+ area. I'm gonna go C. I'm gonna go C- here. C- here. Yeah, C-. I don't feel good about that, but C-. Ike, what's your grade?
Woo. All right. I wish I could get 2 different grades here, right? Because the offense for the first 2.5 quarters was a flat out F from me. The offense for the last 1.5 was actually only really a C. Like they didn't do great once the quarterback change happened. They were still trying to figure some stuff out. So for that reason, I'm going to have to land somewhere in the D range, right? Like if I'm averaging those 2 things out, it's a D overall offensively. Like I just don't feel like we did anything that had a semblance of great offense. We got whooped up front in the run protection and our ability to run block. From a pass protection standpoint, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great the whole game. Outside of a few shining spots in the receiving core, and I'm including tight ends when I say that, so I'm putting Shanker into that, Kobe Hudson, and then later in the game, you're going to have catches from Malcolm Johnson, Canyon, and Capers. The receiving core wasn't great. I mean, props to Shedrick Jackson for catching the game-winning touchdown. Javarius Johnson came in and made some catches. But I just don't feel like the offense did great. So I have to go. I'll be generous and go D+. There you go, D+.
Mike?
I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go C+ for the offense, and the run game had a tough task, and they still, in my book, produced a decent amount based on what they were up against, based on how inept our passing game was. Georgia State loaded the box. They loaded it up. It was tough, and the only way they were going to unload it was if we could hit some passes at any kind of clip. So run blocking was difficult because they completely sold out against the run. Ham had a good game versus the run. And then when I look at the pass blocking grades that PFF gave our O-line, they're above average. They had an above average game. The tape confirmed that too. There were some really nice pockets in there for quarterbacks to make throws. We just didn't make them. In the first half, the throws were there. Our quarterback just didn't see the field. Right. So like I have to give them credit for some of the things that they did do well in this game. Like they had a tough task. I mean, and you guys know how I feel about if you're going to be one dimensional, eventually somebody's going to shut down the thing that you do well. So, you know, that's how running affects passing and passing affects running. Like if you can't pass at all, I mean, look at Georgia State. They couldn't throw the ball, but they ran the ball so well that their passing game worked in the first half. Once we shut down their run, they could not do anything. And they essentially did the same thing to us in the first half. So, you know, I put that on Bobo in the passing game in the first half. Once they got it fixed, there was room for these running backs to run. And it just happened so late in the game, the stats won't reflect it. But, you know, Jarquez was still averaging 6 yards a carry in this thing. Tank didn't have a great game. He was like 3.3 yards per carry. But
I don't put that on Tank at all, though.
Yeah, but again, what he was running against was just tough, man. They had a tough task, so I can't go full D on it. Like I'll give him a CC plus. I think at the end of the game, the receivers that came in, some of the catches that got made pulled this grade up a little bit. The plays that got made on the last drive, I'm just like, all right, cool. Like I felt like we've had playmakers, but I cannot blame the guys who weren't in the game for what happened. But when they did get in the game, they made plays. We have a young receiving core. I think we need to go to those guys, and these grades will come up significantly. So C plus for me. I Finley pulls this grade up quite a bit as well too. Without his performance, I'm down with Ike and D all the way around. So, you know, they get dinged for the stuff they did the first 2.5 quarters, but I definitely have to give them credit for what they did the last quarter and a half apart from coaching is what I'm saying. Once coaching was no longer a factor, the offense looked better. And I'm telling you, on that last drive that Finley went, there were some beautiful pockets formed by our O-line in pass protection. It was clean. On the throw to Javarius Johnson, the deep ball that he got interfered on, that's the most perfect pocket I've ever seen this O-line give a quarterback. It was beautiful. I thought that Finley stepped up and put the ball where the receiver could get it. You know, it just a combination of just a little bit of timing and the interference by the DB, but there were some impressive things that happened there at the end that helped pull this grade up for me. So, you know, I've had the opportunity of just kind of going through the film play by play already, which is why I'm like, I'm probably not as harsh. I think once you guys have had a chance to go through the film as well, too, like you might feel a little bit differently about some of the things that happened during this game. Without it, I would have been where Ike was. I'll probably, you know, without looking at the film, I probably would have said F, D or F. You know, I take a little bit off of him after I've watched it.
Gotcha. And some people saying Bobo, we need to grade Bobo, or people mentioning Bobo. He's part of the reason the coaching staff got a D plus. Like he's a big part of that. So just take it for what it's worth. I'm not. Well, whatever. Shane, appreciate that, buddy. Be Will. What's your grade for the offense, sir?
I say D. I'm with Ike on this one. The quarterback is a part of the offense, and the quarterback performed terribly for 2.5 quarters, and that's why the offense looked putrid for 2.5 quarters. a lot of guys were on offense actually doing their job. I think our wide receivers are getting better. Kobe is getting better. Malcolm Johnson Jr. is showing that he's not only a good blocker, he doesn't get targeted as much as maybe I think he should. But there's only one way you get him to get better at catching the ball, and that's to keep him on the field. If he's been a good run blocker, keep him on the field. I don't know who you sit for him because they're gonna go with Shed, man. I mean, it's hard to argue against Shed at this point. He saved our bacon, I guess, to put it quite cleanly. But the quarterback, yes, he drug everybody's performance down, the entire offense, and that's still the offense. So he didn't, even though Finley wasn't a perfect quarterback by any means, to Mike's point earlier, and I like that observation, he made mistakes, but when we absolutely had to have it, he did it. And some guys have that, man. Some guys have it and some guys don't, and he does. That doesn't make it the offense wasn't clicking on all cylinders when he was in there. He saved our bacon. So I'd say F for 2.5 quarters, a good C plus for a quarter and a half, and I'm gonna make that a D.
Fair enough. Let's talk about defense. 71 plays, gave up 304 yards. And, of course, a good bit of this was in the first half. Passing, Georgia State went 12 for 24 for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. They rushed. I mean, my goodness. I would have definitely have betted against this with money if I was a betting man. 47 rushes for 267 yards and a score. 64 tackles, 3 sacks. 10 tackles for loss. So Auburn is still around that 10-plus range in terms of tackle for loss in each game. Forced fumble, 1, wasn't able to recover it, but we did get a pick 6, 3 quarterback hurries, and 8 missed tackles. My grade for the defense is just a C. I mean, they were absolutely bad in the first half and a complete reversal, almost a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of a game for the defense. They turned it up and appeared in the second half. So I'm gonna give them a C. B.
I say C as well. Same reasons. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Wes Steiner is not the number 1 linebacker that's supposed to be McClain's spot, but when he's on that field, he's a part of the defense. He didn't perform. It affected the entire defense. So between first and second half, I say C.
This one's tough. Again, like you said, it's Jekyll and Hyde. They definitely were a different defense once Zakoby McClain came in there. Zakoby by himself is an A+. Like, I just don't have anything else to say about that brother except please don't ever get hurt. But the defense as a whole was probably, man, a B+ in the second half of that game. That they were so terrible in the first half, though, that I've got to drop it down to like a C- overall. I just have to. It was embarrassing how bad we were getting gashed by the run in the first half of that game. It was embarrassing how wide open receive. Like, let's be clear, Georgia State actually missed wide open receivers early in that game.
Yes.
If their quarterback was worth anything, that game looks embarrassing early. The defense looked putrid in the first half of that game. I don't know that I can find an adjective to describe. I would need Stephen A. Smith's vocabulary to describe how absolutely horrible the defense looked in the first half of that game. It was embarrassing. So C- overall, because they were able to get better once we had our star linebacker back in the middle anchoring things. But you just absolutely just can't look that bad in the first half of that game. C-.
Mike?
I'm going C as well. They were bad, mind you, down a guy, but that's the team that we had to put out there. So they didn't do well. After that guy came in, for me, it was an A. They allowed less than 90 yards of total offense in the second half, right? Like Georgia State, they scored no points. They did absolutely nothing after the half when Zakoby came in. So that garners an A on the second half for me, because they really they didn't have an offense in the second half. The dude that they had that was running wild suddenly could not find any room to run. with Zakoby in there. So, you throw Papo in there as well, too. I think even with Papo in the first half, we're not sitting here having the discussion that we're having today. But you know what? This is going to be kind of weird. Actually, I'm going to change my grade to a B, right? I'm changing it to a B because our defense did what they had to do for us to get a change of quarterback. Right? Like his defense did what they had to do.
Hey,
without their first half performance, we win that game, but we ride it out, and then we go at LSU, the same team. And I just think that this was the perfect storm of stuff that needed to happen so that we could see some changes, and not just at quarterback, man, at wide receiver that I've been bemoaning some of the rotations that have been sent out there. Like this will be a drastically different lineup, or should be, versus LSU. I don't know how you look at that tape and don't think Canyon needs to be out there making plays. I don't care what he looked like in practice, man. He is a playmaker. Same with Capers and Malcolm Johnson. I mean, those guys just seemed like they were running free. And, even though TJ looked locked in on Capers initially, like I just think, man, without this defensive performance, we got to wake coach up. Let's give up some rush yards and then have to play from behind so that he can wake up a little bit and make some changes offensively.
So the defense was sandbagging on us in the first half of the game.
I think that's what was happening, right? So they get a B for me. I just anytime you shut a team out for 2 quarters for a half, right? Like they have that kind of potential. That's why I keep screaming shut. I mean, if our guys play the whole game, I still would have been. This would have been a shutout. With Zakoby and Papo in there, this would have definitely been a shutout because you saw that they could not run the ball after Zakoby came in there. If you put both our linebackers in there, there's nothing they would have been able to do offensively. It was pretty clear. They looked extremely worse. And our defensive line had a little bit of a rough game, but there was no resistance at the second level for 2 quarters. Yeah. Right. And they met a lot of resistance after the half. So I'm not down on this defense. I still think when it's all said and done, we're going to look back at this defense statistically, and some of the things that they're going to have accomplished will be some of the best numbers we've ever seen at Auburn. Right. Particularly this run defense, under the caveat that Papo and McClain stay healthy the rest of the way, or at least one of those guys. We need one of them. What I learned was that we're not as deep at some positions on defense as I thought we were. Thought we were a little deeper at linebacker, and they're still trying to figure out what's going on in that secondary. Who was it that was just playing at safety yesterday? See that you were like, I like him at safety.
Oh, dang, just had a
Puckett.
Someone now?
Puckett.
Yes. Yeah, I like Puckett.
Yeah, they still got some things to figure out, but I think there's some shuffling of the deck that still needs to happen in that secondary. I'm not just like offensively. I'm not sure that we have the best guys on the field in some of those positions based on performance. So, I'll trust the coaches until the wheels fall off the wagon. But like, I'm looking forward to seeing some changes defensively as well too. Going into LSU, going into a hostile environment, right? Like, we're 4 games in now. You need to know your team, right? Like, we still don't know this team at this point. Man. I'm agreeing with Walt here on this one. Yes, Walt. Yeah, factual. It's so funny. One of the things I hear all the time in the comments is, "Oh, Mike always thinks he's right." Now, I am actively saying I completely missed the mark on this secondary. I'm not ready to give up on them. I don't think that they're talentless, but whatever they're trying to do from a scheme perspective is definitely not working with this personnel. And we need a pass rush. We need a pass rush to help these guys out and cause some havoc and do some things here.
I just don't understand why we're not playing any sort of games up front with the pass rush at all. Like, it's straight bull rush and, just beat the man in front of you type stuff. And that's fine. if it's working. But when it's not working, y'all got to figure some there's nothing exotic that's happening with the pass rush right now. And I just don't understand it, especially when you're in situations where, I hate to go back to Penn State, where the quarterback is something that you should be able to tee off on, right? And that offensive line has struggled with the handoff duties that they were supposed. I want to see something different happening up front than what I've been seeing, but we got time to get into that because we're going to talk about that.
Like stunts and stuff like that.
Something. Yeah. Play a few more games up front and make them have to do something. So,
right.
Yeah.
Jazzy Joe, I don't want to leave this one out. Jazzy Joe said our offensive coordinator was a Bobo on our offense. We definitely see what you did there, Jazzy Joe. Those of you watching, y'all been giving grades. We appreciate you guys in our comment section. If you're watching this on replay, give us your grades as well. Let us know what you thought. Let us know how you grade each facet of the game as well as what the coaches did. We'll greatly appreciate that. Guys, let's get ready to talk about
what did we see?
All right.
So, what do we see?
It's never not funny. I'm sorry. I don't care what y'all say. It's never not funny, dog. Before we do that, though, what I did not see was SS Austin comment in these here comments. So I think we're gonna go ahead and redraw now. Do we want to do that?
Hashtag get your weight up if you want to get in. If you didn't get in before.
Yes, let's do it.
We're up to 113, so let's do it again. Let's see what we got. If you commented, my bad, SS Austin, I did not see you, so gotta be more careful.
Blade, what up?
Congrats, sir, and we know you here.
Yeah, Blake is a constant guy in the chat here. We appreciate all of that, man.
Yeah, right. Congrats to you. Well, Blake, you know what to do. You already know what to do. Business at thewarrapport.com. Thank you, good sir, for that. All right. What did we see? Let's talk about that. What I saw is that the ACC is a straight toss-up. Clemson has only lost one conference game, of course, that being the NC State. The first loss of the season was at Georgia. But another team in the AC, I mean, we know what Florida State, that was another team that I kind of gave a hard time to last week, or they're them traditional selves. But a team that people were giving a lot of love to in the offseason, North Carolina lost their second conference game. Now, you do have Wake Forest out there who's looking okay. Boston College is undefeated. Right now, I would say that it's hard to determine if Clemson is going to be it or not. They just don't look like they've still got a lot of things they got to figure out. I thought Virginia Tech, them beating North Carolina, they were going to probably make a run at it. No. So it's pretty wide open at this point, even though you do have a couple of undefeated teams in that conference. We pretty much thought it was Clemson and everyone else in that conference, but it's looking like a good bit of parity is taking place in that conference. So I would be curious to see if there's any representation coming from that conference when it comes to playoff time. Yeah. Looks like that's not going to be the case. And that's going to be different because Clemson has been in it or in the conversation for the past few years. So definitely want to say that the ACC is definitely a toss-up. Clemson doesn't appear to have a stranglehold on it this year, and I'm okay with that. B. Will, what's yours?
Well, what I saw was Jimothy Fisher.
Oh, God. Oh,
he's a faker. He's a fraud.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
With the money he's getting to coach Texas A&M, he's a scam artist. He talks really fast and paces the sideline and looks distraught. Somehow an offensive genius and a QB whisperer in your fourth year as head. This is why when Mike was, A&M deserved to be in no. A&M, he had the benefit of a great defense, which he still has. All you got to do is put together a decent offense, my boy. A decent offense, Jim. Nah, man. Now you can say, hey, his QB1 is hurt. You down to QB2. Hey, we're down to QB2. Who isn't down to QB2? People swap, man. Emory Jones was looking bad. He looked better against better competition. Zach Calzada, I don't know. You recruited this dude. You know how I know? Because it's year number 4. It's year number 4. So all the QBs on the roster are your dudes. The offensive line, those are your dudes. The wide receivers who aren't great, the tight end, those are your dudes. They didn't look ready to play on the field. Arkansas is a very tough team. A&M's defense did a very good job considering how little their offense did of keeping Arkansas close enough to make it a game. They got the same amount of points from their offense at Arkansas as they got at Colorado. You the offensive coordinator, man. You calling the plays, man. What's up, Jim? 8-4, maybe 7-5. We can beat A&M looking like that. They're back in play. We thought that was going to be a tough game. They are back in play. LSU's back in play. Mississippi State's in play. We should at least get to 6 wins this season. And I would judge our coaching staff for not beating any of those teams, including Jimothy Fisher's overrated self.
Good job. You was able to control that. Walt also agrees with you.
Thank you, Walt.
There you go. Mike G, what's yours, man?
I'm amazed at
Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
They didn't deserve it last year because look at them this year. Okay. All right.
You muted, Mike.
Yeah, I was just saying, like I'm a little amazed at the leap between they didn't deserve it last year because look at them this year. Like what? Okay, all right, cool, whole different team, but whatever.
Yeah.
The what did we see is listen, this is Penn State's best chance to win Big Ten.
Oh, that's a fact.
Now, for a team that I have felt like has gotten screwed over the years. And some of these, like there was one, don't remind me of the year, chat, where they beat Ohio State
2016.
Yeah, and they won the conference and then missed the playoff. It was an unreal thing. Like they missed the playoff when they beat Ohio State. Ohio State made the playoff. I just did not understand that. I thought they got jobbed. And it's been tough sledding for them with the Michigans and the Ohio States and the Wisconsins from time to time, trying to just win that conference. But this has got to be their year to win it, right? You've got Clifford, who threw for 400 yards yesterday. You've got not a great run game, but, you've got some pieces in there, and all the things seem to be coming together for them to be able to win the Big Ten this year. And because they beat us, I would like to see them get it done. I would like to see them take that conference. I think that the football gods owe them this because of how they've been screwed in the past, being better than some teams that ended up getting a chance at the playoff. Now, I don't know how they'll perform in the playoff against the Bamas of the world, right? But or even if Georgia makes it, like I'm not sure how well they'll do. But yeah, man, like listen, hats off to them. I mean, they're a well-coached team. They've got some playmakers on there. Their quarterback has seemed to have taken the next step. Congrats. Would love to know how that feels. Yeah, this has got to be their year, right? In the Big Ten, because there's nothing in the Big Ten that looks super scary this year. Ohio State does not look like a juggernaut. You got to go out there and you got to win. I don't know if they play them in the regular season or if they won't see them until the Big Ten championship. I haven't looked at their schedule, but either way, I'm assuming they're going to still have to go through Ohio State at some point to win it. And if they finish this schedule out, they definitely deserve to be in the playoff, I think.
I don't think they'll make it because Iowa is always a tough away game for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
They usually play up to big opponents. They got to go to Iowa, to Ohio State, and they would play who's probably going to be Michigan coming out of the other side. And I don't think they win but one of those games. So I doubt they make it. But this is still their best year. I agree.
Yeah, if they continue to manage their quarterback the way they have been, they'll have a shot. They should have a shot. They've had a better shot this year than they've had a lot of years with some of the
our pass defense is terrible. Our pass defense is and has been terrible, so we made them look great. Wisconsin is actually a terrible team, and the other two games they played are cupcakes. I think they've had a more pleasant road than we thought if we looked at their schedule at the beginning of the year.
I'm not judging them based on the schedule. I'm judging them based on what the Big Ten looks like this year. They are they're more vulnerable at the top of the Big. I'm not sold on Iowa, right? Like, so they're more vulnerable at the top of the Big Ten than they have been in previous years, right? Like, so if you got a veteran quarterback, you got to go out and get it done this year.
So basically, the Big Ten is wide open as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think there are a couple teams that have a shot to win the Big Ten. But if you're Penn State, man, with the squad that you have, with that wide receiver Dotson and some of the things that they can get a run game kind of going a little bit better. They screamed about Kane. He didn't do much against us, but against the rest of your Big Ten schedule, man, this is the best chance they've had in a lot of years to kind of take that conference, in my opinion. So, I just think they should. Hopefully, they take advantage of it, because I think in previous years they've done enough and they got screwed. So this year, hopefully, they can get some of that karma back and do that. And I want that for James Franklin. I think he's an outstanding coach.
Ike, what's yours, sir?
For me, the SEC is not great top to bottom. I mean, we've got some good teams at the top. But then it falls off pretty drastically after you get past maybe the first four, to where you're seeing our out of conference performances not be very good. The bottom of the league is disastrous. It's just really awful at the bottom. So the dominance of the SEC has not looked great out of conference when we're playing other Power 5 schools and even some schools that aren't Power 5. I mean, and I have to put Auburn in there in our performances against Georgia State yesterday. So SEC's got some work to do to get back to its football dominance as a conference. Again, the top of the league still looks good, but the middle to the bottom of the league, not super impressive for me yet. So got some work to do as we get into the SEC schedule. We're going to start to see how things shake out for real.
Indeed. And I attest to that just by working on next week's power rankings, just looking at the teams, and it's after you get about 4 or 5 spots down, it's a drop off. Definitely a drop off. So yeah, a lot of work to do there. Jazzy Joe, man, we appreciate you watching along with us, man. You've been super chatting throughout the show. And he sides with you as well. Be Will Timothy Fisher, price check bounce sucks. So appreciate you, man, for hanging out with us. Let's get out of here. Mike G, you got some announcements for us, sir?
Muted, sir.
Shout out to our title sponsor, Ace Hardware, University Ace Hardware, for sponsoring us Weekend Tailgate. Listen, become an insider. We've got a lot of great things planned for you guys. A lot of it's going to be insider or supporter only. Don't want to miss our film review tomorrow. Break down this Georgia State film. It's going to be fun. Can't wait for Ike to get through that one. So you become an insider. You can sign up on our YouTube front page. Hit that join button. Choose insider. $5.99 will get you there. We're giving away tickets to the Georgia game for insiders, 2 tickets. And in line with that, we'll be doing a tailgate. So become an insider to get raffles into that. And then after you get to the game, come down to the tailgate. We're going to be doing a meet and greet. We're going to have food and alcohol and a tent. So come on down and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to being down there with you guys. We're a partner with the Lee County Humane Society to help raise money for a good cause. We appreciate everybody who's been going by our GoFundMe to donate to this every month. So we got some work to do to make our goal by the end of the month, which is $500 every month raised for the Lee County Humane Society. We're about half the way there. So we still need some help from you guys. If you can find it in your hearts and your wallets to donate, 50 cents on every dollar goes to the Lee County Humane Society to help them save puppies. And we love puppies at the War Rapport. Our merch store is live. So if you didn't win the mug, you can maybe just go buy one for $10. Visit our merch store. The link is in the About section of our YouTube channel. Last but certainly not least, we are on podcast. Can't stress enough. The War Rapport is trying to be everywhere. B's working real hard to get this podcast out for you guys. So the more you guys support with your views and listens and likes, we can get more of this stuff out to you guys. So even if you're not a big podcast person, go over there and just give us a 5-star review and click like and leave a comment for us to help us climb those podcast charts. So again, we're on every podcast platform here, primarily Apple, iTunes, and Spotify. You can go check us out on podcasts. It's a little bit more car friendly than the YouTube app if you're trying to listen to the War Rapport.
And before we close, man, a few calls to action that we have for you guys who are still hanging on with us. Please be sure to share this video on social media using hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Help people out. It also helps us out as people find our content and page. Also, before you leave out of here, be sure to like this video. Get those likes up, thumbs up, please. That helps us out as well. And subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that already. If you're out there on Instagram and Twitter, you can find us at The War Rapport. You can also find us on TikTok at TW Rapport. For the insiders, we'll see you guys tomorrow as we break down the film. Guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great week. See you soon, but until then, War Eagle.
War Eagle.